This is the Earth Science Classroom. This video is in soil science, and we're looking at the plant root system and how the roots within the soil are going to uptake nutrients and create a flow of energy and nutrients for the plant, for biomass, to create the beautiful vegetation, ecosystems, and biosphere that we come to admire and study as scientists. So let's look at soil nutrients. Now, every living thing in the biosphere requires certain things to survive, to live, and to grow. And the plants in particular use the root system to uptake the nutrients and the water in which to grow, develop, and produce growth in the certain ecosystem, in the location or the climate. So the nutrients are broken down into micronutrients and macro. That's based on how much or how little the plant requires or needs for growth. So the micronutrients are the iron, the chloride, and the copper and the zinc, and they are in small amounts. The plant requires them in small amounts, and the plant requires a lot of the macronutrients. There's things like nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, and the non-mineral macronutrients, which is obviously hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And these are essential for growth of the plant, and the root system provides this flow of nutrients from the soil, from the water, into the plant. So the plant is going to uptake nutrients through its root system, which is underneath the soil surface. And this root system really comprises of a primary root, an axial root, which is the main root in which it grows from and kind of like binds itself into the soil for structure and protection. And then the other branch roots or lateral roots will grow off, and there'll be nodes and internodes where it grows through and develops in size. And then finally you have the root hairs, which is the smallest particle or part of the root system, which is going to have that active process of taking the nutrients from the soil solution or the water or the soil colloids, the humus or the clay minerals, or the mineral components, the macro and micronutrients, and flow them through the root hairs, through the branch root, and into the root system and up into the plant itself for growth and for nutrition. So we discussed the different types of nutrients, the micro and macro, and we discussed where this actually happens, which is under the soil surface through the root system and the root hairs. But there are different ways in which the plant is going to uptake the nutrients. And there's three main types. There is root interception, there is mass flow, and there is diffusion. So the first one, root interception, that is how, as you see from this kind of like video, how the root's going to grow down, and the root system, the lateral branches, the axial root, going to grow down deeper in the soil and have a larger kind of surface area in which to go through the soil and grab nutrients and for stability. And this is where the root actually goes past and grows through or past the colloids or the soil solution within the soil layer and actually touches and makes contact with the nutrients, and the nutrients then pass through the actual contact, like conduction in heat transfer. Then we have the mass flow. Mass flow is to do with the water in the soil, the soil solution, the acidity, the level of pH, the amount of colloids, and the cation exchange capacity, and the amount of nutrients within the water kind of passed in between the sites on the colloids to the solution. This will flow in to the roots through the solution, through water. And then we have diffusion. And the diffusion works on a concentration gradient, a potential gradient, and you have most likely phosphorus and potassium going through, diffusing through into the root through a high concentration outside the root to a low concentration inside the root, and there'll be a flow based on the gradient. Now this is called active process because you need energy to work this system. And then you have the actual root itself, which is the cool thing. They'll have what's called a selective process, where you have certain proteins or protein carriers that would select the right nutrients that the plant requires or needs that's been absorbed, and it will take that correct nutrient, either macro or micro, into the root system and through the membrane. And if it's not required or excess, it will not carry it. The protein will not carry it. So it has like a internal selection process the plant does, which requires it to get the right nutrients for the right time for the growth. And also this depends on the climate, the amount of nutrients in the soil, and also the plant type. So within soil science, within science in general, you have controlling factors, these attributes, these characteristics that are going to dictate and control the amount of flow of nutrients into the root system. So one of them is the plant type, the species of plant. Next one is the soil type. Is it more clay, more sand, more silt? Is it going to be more permeable for water? How compact it is, how the root system can grow through the soil easily, go down deep enough to obtain and absorb these nutrients that are being moved down through leaching and percolation. Then we have the amount of organic material and humus and the CEC capacity within the soil. And you also have the climate, amount of rainfall is going to dictate the root development, the growth. Obviously, the time it takes or time that the plant has to grow into a larger root system will dictate the amount of nutrients. And also the speed of diffusion, the speed of the protein carriers, and generally just the amount of CEC or the cation exchange capacity within the colloids will have a large control, including the pH of the water, pH of the soil, will have a large control on which nutrients, which enzymes work the best in a certain pH range. Again, this goes back to climate, rainfall, and the parent material the soil is created from, which is the rocks. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please subscribe and maybe hit the like button. If you like more on this content, please check out my channel, which has all these videos on earth science.